All right, let me go back to the Buffalo Broncos game. What did you see with Buffalo's offense that would get Ken Dorsey fired?
Well, it's interesting in that game in particular, Dan, because I saw a bunch of drops by the Bills receivers. I mean, you think about the first interception by Josh Allen. The Bills are moving the ball. They're in scoring range. It went right through Gabe Davis's hands. That's not Ken Dorsey's fault. Now, I will say this, Dan. I don't know that Dorsey's doing a great job. You talk to people schematically. I think Dorsey's probably just okay. The thing that's always laughable to me about that is it's not his fault that Dalton Kincaid had the drop or Latavius Murray had the drop, or even that Sean McDermott, 3rd and long, the Broncos are already out of field goal range. He calls an all-out blitz, cover 0, to put his guy, Taron Johnson, in that position for the pass interference. And I'm pretty sure also, Dan, that Ken Dorsey wasn't the 12th guy on the field on the missed field goal. So what I really strongly dislike about pro football is if they win that game, he doesn't get fired. So think about that. If they win that game, he doesn't get fired, but they lost. So McDermott, quote unquote, has to do something. So he makes Dorsey the scapegoat, makes Dorsey the sacrificial lamb. Just not a fan of that. Never have been. Sometimes they'll just like randomly fire a couple position coaches just so that they appease the fans or the media and show that they're doing something.
Are the Bills fixable?
I don't think so this year. No, I don't know that having a new play caller in Brady, who didn't really do a great job in Carolina, is gonna solve that. You know what else too? I was just thinking about this, Dan. I think this is one of the issues on some level when you have a defensive head coach. And it's a shame because I'm not anti-defensive head coaches, but if you have a defensive-minded head coach and your team has success, that probably means you're scoring points and the offense is doing well. Well, then that guy's going to get hired away. That guy's going to go like Daboll to the Giants, and then you have to get a new play caller, a new guy, and just sometimes that transition does not go as smoothly, and it hasn't for Buffalo.
And I don't know if a new coordinator can change Josh Allen's style, because it just feels like this is who he is. He's going to take chances. He tries to improvise. He wants a splash play. And I don't know if you could say, hey, like if Bill Belichick was coaching the Bills, could he say to Josh Allen, you're going to throw the ball 15 times max tonight? How do you think that would go over?
I don't think it would go over very well at all. And I don't think that the Bills would move the ball very effectively, although they did run it pretty well Monday night. I totally agree, Dan. To me, Josh Allen, like we're at the, and I want to be careful how I say this. I'm not saying Josh Allen's a much better player than Carson Wentz, much better. But, you know, I do a lot of Philadelphia media stuff. And he was so good in 2017. He could have been the MVP if he didn't get hurt. And then 2018 and 2019, he would just have these games where he'd have these silly turnovers and these wild decisions. You're like, what's he doing? But then he went to, you know, Indy and the same thing happened. He went to Washington, same thing happened. Like at some point you just acknowledge Carson Wentz is going to make stupid mistakes. That's just part of who he is. Totally agree with you, Dan. Josh Allen is going to turn the football over at times. Now he's still worth it. He's still a top 5 quarterback. He's still a fantastic player. But I think we have to get to the point. He's got the most turnovers over the last 6 years since he's been a starter. He has the most turnovers the last 2 years. Like at some point, this is just who he is. Could they maybe get another coordinator in there that will help him dial that back a little bit? Probably, but he's been playing a lot of football now for a long time, and he's just aggressive, and he's just going to make some mistakes that you don't want to see him make.